Hello everyone and welcome. In this video clip, we are going to be installing vCenter Server Appliance as per Lab 4 Supplemental for our virtualization course. Let's get started. I'm going to start by launching an instance of VMware Workstation. Since we're going to be importing an OVF like we did before, I'm going to open Virtual Machine and I will navigate to the OVFs folder which we created earlier. So here's my OVFs folder, and I'm going to select the virtual appliance OVF file. So that'll be this one. It will specify the name of the virtual machine. I'm going to call this vcsa.itss.local, and I'm going to specify the path as being on my vDisk and info 2250, and I'm going to change the folder name to just be VCSA. Get that fixed up. Excellent. And we will say import. Now, as per usual, this import is going to take a few minutes. In order to save some time, I'm going to pause the video, and we'll be back once the import is finished. See you in a few minutes. And we're back. We can see that our virtual machine is now created. Only one thing we have to do to make any configuration changes. I'm going to edit virtual machine settings, and we need to change the network adapter from bridged to NAT. So I'll make that change now. Say OK, and we are ready to boot up. So I will launch the virtual machine. We'll see that boot up. This is an automatic boot process. Again, this does take a few minutes. So in order to save some video time, I'll pause the video now, and we'll be back in a few minutes. And we're back. Our VM is now booted up. We can see the console screen here. One of the things we need to do to finish off this job is set a static IP address. It's going to be important that you take a note of what the IP address is right now, because we need to connect in locally, or remotely, I should say, in order to make that change. I'm going to switch over to my student workstation, and we're going to connect in using Secure Shell. Let me re-authenticate. Once we are in student workstation, we're going to use PuTTY to launch an SSH session into VCSA to configure the network. I'll launch PuTTY. I'll put in the IP address that we recorded a minute ago. Log in as the root user. And VMware is the password right now, since we have not changed that to our standard password yet. Now I have a script that I need to run which will allow us to configure IP. This is something that's provided as part of the VCSA software from VMware. Path to that is opt VMware share VAMI and then VAMI config and net. There we go. So the script is launched. It's menu driven, as you can see. We're going to change the IP address last because we're going to lose our secure shell connection once that's changed. So first we'll look at the default gateway. That's option 2. The default gateway we're going to change is on Ethernet 0. And we can see that the default gateway is 192.168.70.2. That's correct. That was provided by DHCP. We don't need to change that. I'll just hit enter. And we're not using IPv6, so we don't have to make any changes for that. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the host name. So that's option 3. Now we're going to change this to vcsa.itss.local. Notice at the prompt it wants the FQDN, the host name and the domain. That will work for us just fine. We will check DNS next. That's option 4. We can see the DNS is set to 192.168.70.2. That is not going to be correct for us. We need to point to our domain controller. So I'm going to change this to 192.168.70.13. That's our infrastructure virtual machine. And we are not going to have a secondary, so we'll just leave that. And then the last thing is going to be the IP address, which is option 6. I'll choose that. I'm going to set no IPv6 address, so I'll leave that at N. For IPv4, yes, I do want to set an address. I'll say yes. DHCP, no. And now it's prompting us for an IP address. Notice that it defaults to the one that it received from DHCP. I'll change this to 192.168.70.10, which is going to be the IP for VCSA. Hit enter. Subnet mask is /24, so that's fine. Is this correct? I'll say yes. And at this point in time, we just lost the connection because it changed the IP address. So I'm just going to kill the secure shell session. And we're basically set. I'm going to just shrink this back down. And notice now that the IP address is the one that we just set. So that's it for this video. Hope it was helpful, and we'll see you next time.